Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into the Kill House. Although nobody's in the Kill House, DJ Pie here. Welcome back also to the No Laying Up podcast. If you happen to be listening to this on the No Laying Up podcast, my name is DJ, joined as always by my friends Randy. Randy, how are you?
I am so good. It's great to be here.
Are you?
Oh,
Are we good?
Yeah, could be any better.
Solly is also here. Solly, how are you?
Fired up. This is going to be, flames are going to be launched. Molotov cocktails about to be thrown.
And live on the grounds, or close to the grounds, as you can tell from his, just getting barreled in that painting behind him, picture behind him. Cody, how are you?
Great. Happy to be here. It's a beautiful day in California. A little too much sun for me after the marine layer lifted. Didn't put enough screen on, but alive and well and excited for another live from.
You can count. I'm going to ask everyone, you can go ahead and count the commercial interruptions in this show because there's going to be two, and this is the first one, and we're going to cover commercial interruptions in great detail here. No Laying Up is, of course, brought to you by Precision Pro Golf. They've launched their Father's Day sale. You can add the NX9 slope to your golf bag right now for $25, and they just let me in on a little secret. I don't know if you guys are aware of this yet. You don't have to be a father to purchase one for yourself. So
huge if true.
Breaking news here on this podcast. You can add the award-winning rangefinder to your golf bag for $25 off, which is the biggest deal of the year. Or you could be your dad's favorite kid by giving him what will surely be his favorite gift, favorite Father's Day gift this year. Everyone here at No Laying Up uses the NX9 slope. It's got all the features you want in a rangefinder: crystal clear display, slope-adjusted distances, target lock, pulse vibration, built-in magnet, and, of course, the price fits much better than a lot of the top-line the much more expensive rangefinders. You don't need a super expensive rangefinder. Not only is it a rangefinder you can trust, it offers the best warranty and customer service in the business. If you call them, someone answers. It's a real person who's a golfer themselves that is eager to help you answer your question. Only rangefinder that comes with lifetime battery replacements. So order the NX9 Slope. Go to precisionprogolf.com. Add our favorite rangefinder, the NX9 Slope, to your golf bag or your dad's for $25 off for Father's Day.
Someone wants to know, can you use a Precision Pro to get yardage into a big hill in front of you before you hit a 4-iron directly into it? Thank you for watching the film room video with Solid.
I regret less than nothing. I regret absolutely nothing about that. It was so close to clearing it. It almost went through the hill, actually, upon reviewing the footage, which, again, I regret absolutely nothing. We made 4. We're fine.
Let's get into it, shall we? Solid, where do you want to start? Should we start with story of the day? What was the story of the day?
I think you know what my biggest story of the day is, and I don't think we want to start there. So I want to start with Cody, who was on the ground today. For you, being in there in person, what's the biggest story of the day?
I think Russell, first of all, marine layer this morning. I woke up 6 o'clock, wanted to be there for opening tee shots, got there, and it was a lot of fog, man. Marine layer lasted forever, and delay after delay after delay. I had so many donuts this morning, and we finally started golfing. It didn't start, it didn't set me off on a very good note, but
I'll say this, Cody. Hopefully you grabbed a pin sheet, had a coffee with those donuts, and went to town.
I was prepared. I'm a good, I don't want to say the word J, but I was prepared, had my my pairing sheet and pin positions and ready to go. And when we finally got rolling, it was an awesome morning. Followed Russell around for a long time. Honestly, his 67 probably should have been a lot more. He didn't hit that many fairways, didn't hit a lot of greens, and just putted really, really, really well.
Sustainability models do not love that. We have coastal erosion, breaking off into the Pacific out there.
That's not going to happen for like 50 years. It'll be fine. You can make it through a couple more rounds.
Yeah, so it was a good morning, great afternoon when the second wave started. I know you guys were a little bit upset with coverage by that point in time, but I was loving life, walking around, checking out, dive as many planes as you can possibly see. It was like Banner City out there. If you wanted
really?
A Geico ad, if you wanted Progressive on the other, there were some landscaping companies offering 25% off. It was crazy.
That's what the coverage looked like too. That's amazing. You got the full experience in person.
Yeah, it was interesting for sure, but awesome golf. The rough is thick. I don't know if anybody's heard that yet, but it was a good day.
I'm ready to quadruple down on pretty much everything we said coming into this tournament. For everyone that was trying to convince us that, no, you guys are too hard on Torrey. That Exhibit A right there, watching that golf on this day, it felt, I can't even tell you how many tweets we got today. They're like, that felt exactly like the Farmers, both with the way it was covered and the golf that was played. The scoring average was within half a shot of what the cumulative scoring average was in February at on Torrey Pines South. And it lacked so much juice. Every single person I talked to, that has covered majors for a long time said it lacked juice. And I'm really pretty upset about pretty much everything about today.
It's mad as hell.
It's pretty much the worst we've seen.
I mean, it was.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there, right?
Yeah,
do we need to stick to the golf first?
I'm not even talking coverage yet. I'm just talking like the whole setup, the whole course, everything. It blows. But let's start with how do we not? It's Louis Oosthuizen and Koepka are now in the same bucket of like, if you're not just picking auto top tens for these guys in the majors, you don't deserve to make picks. And I'm in this bucket. I had Louis picked and I deleted him for some reason and I don't even know what I kept, but I deleted Louis out of the top 10.
I do think there's something interesting, if you're making picks to win or if you're making picks for top fives and top tens, because one of those feels a lot different to me than the other. I feel like picking Brooks to win feels a lot different. I feel like no one would be happier to see Louis win than me, but I feel like we've seen this one about 45 times now.
No one would be happier. Like
maybe a couple people.
Okay.
But I don't know. We've seen this before, right? Like I agree. Those are the two guys that seem to elevate their games more than anybody when the lights are brightest. But it's just funny to me how good one of them is at getting the job done and how bad one of them is at getting the job done.
It's been a couple years for Brooks. I mean, we've talked about this.
Injuries. He's had all kinds. I'm not. That's unfair to Brooks.
I'm just saying it's been 2 years since the collapse at Bethpage that he managed to hold on and got punched in the face a little and hasn't won one since then. I think that's worth noting. Yet at the same time, here he is again, the one dude that elevates his game for major championships. This is rinse and repeat from Kiowa of just like no form coming in, misses the cut. One of the worst fields, worst PGA Tour fields that we've seen last week at Congaree, and comes in and shoots. I know he's not literally in the lead, but I think Brooks and Rahm are your leaders right now. If you're looking at that leaderboard of highest probability to win this thing, he came out and did exactly what he needed to do, and we'll get to Rahm in a second. But Koepka is the biggest story of the day as far as performance on the golf course for me. Randy, what's your biggest story of the day?
I think one guy we haven't mentioned, I saw a lot of them. I was locked into his featured group, is Xander. He looked totally in control for most of the day. Hit the crap out of the ball. I think being right there, 2 under, he kind of falls in that. He's got to prove it to me that he can get the job done in this situation. But he looked very, very good today. And then the only other guy I want to shout out is he keeps popping up on these first pages of majors is Hideki. Has any Masters champion been less, I don't want to say respected, but it's almost like, he won the Masters, but we're not treating him like a Masters champion this year.
I think the Masters win came with little form leading up to it. Like it snuck up on us, and he hasn't really done much since the Masters win. So we went right back to forgetting him. Probably not, if I was to say for better or for worse, probably for worse, because again, it didn't feel like he had, all cylinders firing today, and he still shoots 2 under par. Like that dude is just a ball striking force. And if putts go in, we've seen what happens. So yeah, I agree. It's worth noting. I probably would have not even mentioned him today because I'm lazy like that.
But other than that, the course it's a bad.
You want to do Torrey now? DJ, do we have permission to do Torrey now?
Sure. Listen, guys, I'm trying to hold back. I'm trying to hold back the negativity as much as possible. But
why?
I'm overrun. No, you're right. It just sucks that the 2 stories of the day kind of become how. And I'm not arguing with any of this. I mean, I watched it for the whole day, but it does suck when the U.S. Open, like, arguably maybe my favorite tournament of the year. I fucking love the U.S. Open. I love it. Today was so miserable. I hated watching it today, and that's not me like doing a bit. That's not me trying to be like shocking or anything. Like I looked all day for like, you know what? We're not doing that. No, we're not doing that. Come on. We're going to look for some positivity here. We're going to look for some stuff. I got some great stuff about Russell Henley. Would love to talk about that a little bit more after we get all this out of our system. But it was miserable, man. It's awful. Like the course is tough. It's not interesting. The TV coverage was so bad. Like
split that percentage wise.
Yes.
Wait.
Let's stick to Torrey for now. We'll we'll do a whole Amsterdam segment, I'd say. But
I would say it's probably no, you're right. I think 80%, 75 to 80% of what I'm describing is probably due to the TV.
Yeah.
I think.
I think honestly that's where I come out to, I think. But Torrey still just doesn't do it for me.
But can we get there? All right,
I guess,
so Torrey,
sorry,
though.
what I'm getting at though is a good golf course like Winged Foot, masked a lot of the bad TV. You know what I mean? Like today,
TV was different last year. It was different last year than this year.
It was, but you know what I'm saying? It's not that different. I mean, it's yes, there's more commercials this year and yada yada yada. But it's
there's
not
a
like
new deal this year.
Shout out to FDR, but there wasn't a good, interesting golf course can still keep you locked in and can make you forget about like, man, they're going to another commercial. That's tough, but okay. When you don't have that, it's hard to keep your defenses up, right?
So a lot of the defenses that I hear for Torrey come from, if I click on your Twitter profile, location La Jolla, California, location San Diego, California.
You can't deny though that it is public.
It is very public and immunity, and people will like, yeah, you don't like. Of course, like they don't have this. It's immunity. It's immunity. Okay, then maybe it shouldn't host the U.S. fucking Open. Like, how is that just a total pass? Like, if we're looking on the spectrum of all U.S. Open courses, right? This is the last one, right? So why would you give it a pass? Why would you like try to find like all the great things about it or try to pretend like it's not horrible? Like the USGA is in charge of finding the golf courses to go to and setting them up, right? So I hear people saying like you can't fault the setup, like it's just the golf course. The USGA chose the golf course, and they also choose the partner that televises this thing. And whatever the hell we watched today was like not the tournament that I love. I mean, I'm with you, Deej. Like,
say it, Solly. Not my U.S. Open.
Not my U.S. Open.
U.S. Open.
I enjoy tuning in and watching a great challenge and a tournament that means a ton. And you can't do that on a golf course we just saw a few months ago that's playing way too similar to what we just saw a few months ago. It moved like one tee box. The rough's a little thicker. It's maybe a little bit firmer. And there's just no interesting shots with it. There's no path to getting there. And then throw in like it's like the worst presentation I've ever seen of a major championship. And yeah, it's a tough day of viewing. So yeah, I'm not in the best of moods tonight.
So I think so.
Yeah.
I had a couple like kind of disparate thoughts really during the PGA where everybody always talks about how the PGA doesn't really have, its identity and everybody knows kind of what the Masters is. Everybody knows what the Open is and everybody knows what the US Open is. And ordinarily that's like the toughest test in golf. Right. And one of my things about the PGA was like, man, it'd be really cool if they only limited the PGA to public golf courses or like, publicly accessible golf courses. That would be really cool. And in my head, I was like, man, it'd be cool if that's an interesting thing for the US Open as well, right? Like if they're trying to make it the People's Championship, this national championship, like that would be great. But I was like, you know what? Honestly, though, like I think the identity of the US Open is more about going to the best test of golf and the most proper. I mean, test is kind of a lame word, but I think that's the one, right? Like the best examination of all these different parts of golf. And if you're going to do that, then you do have to, of course, go to Winged Foot and Shinnecock and all those types of places. The point is, like, you don't have to go to Torrey Pines.
No one's making you do this.
If that's your recipe, if your recipe is like, we are going to, this is going to be such an examination of these guys. It's like, go to, get a little better test.
We do this examination. We do it at the Farmers every year. And the examination is long holes, thick rough, narrow fairways, hit it really far. We don't care about strategy. Do this execution test that also isn't really that much of an execution test because you can hit it in the rough and not pay that much of a price for it. So like, what are we trying to identify with this? Like the longest player, the best of the longest players? That's pretty much what this modern US Open is. It's like, it's not testing your ability to think your way around a golf course very much. There's a couple interesting pins, a couple shots that like, all right, I'd rather be left rough than right rough here, but it's not a comprehensive test at all. And like, this is what the championship is supposed to be about. That's so frustrating.
Cody, how firm was it out there today? Because I will push back a little bit on just reading some players and hearing some interviews and stuff. It does sound like it's a lot firmer than it is in January.
Yeah, I mean, the ball's definitely rolling. I wouldn't say that it's any other U.S. Open venue that we've had in the past, but it's definitely a lot firmer than it would be here for the Farmers.
Yeah.
And you see that massive first bounces on greens. I think the greens, they rolled really good. They were not extremely fast by any means. You saw a couple good putts made, but they're consistent across it. The rough out here is crazy to me. I love how they hype up the 3 different types of grass and everything else like that. But when you're standing in it, yeah, it's super thick, but in some spots it's just extremely patchy. So if you get, an unlucky bounce where it rolls an extra inch into Kikuyu versus some overseeded rye patch, there's just no consistency in it. And I understand, like, don't hit
Which I think is kind
rough
of a positive, actually.
Right. I think that's what Pinehurst is like. Yeah. I don't disagree with that. I think it'd be more interesting if it wasn't 26-yard wide fairways leading into like, a foot off and you might get a terrible lie. Like that just doesn't, I don't know. That's not matching up for me.
The thickest rough on the golf course is around the greens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's dull.
It's super dull. Another thing, like, I understand we're not going to Amsterdam, but TV, when cameras are that high elevated and it flattens everything out, it doesn't show you like how good of a shot it actually is then. Case in point, Rory's chip on 16 or 17. I mean, he was down way at the bottom of this slope. They have the overhead camera, and then thank God they gave a replay of it coming back, and you see, like, you can barely see the top of his head. Phenomenal little flop shot that he hit.
That's not, but the one hole that seems to have what I would enjoy around the greens is number 7, like to the left of number 7, and that's a new development. It's a shaved bank. Balls run away from that. Louis Oosthuizen pulled putter from over there. The announcers were shocked, completely shocked by that, and that is where I'm like, that's interesting. Like a lot of dudes have been chipping it from over there. Koepka had trouble getting up and down from over there, and Louis Oosthuizen's pulling out putter and putting it to a foot. Like there's little tidbits that Torrey's gotten a little bit better. 17 has gotten better over the years where they put that new tee in and kind of brought in the barranca down that left side. There's a couple other things that have made Torrey better. It's just like you're kind of putting lipstick on a pig.
And one thing I do want to point out, I know we've said this 600 times, but it has nothing to do with like all the public golf aspects of this are massive positives, right? There are plenty of private golf courses that suck as well.
Yes.
There's Medina feels a lot like Torrey Pines. Firestone feels a lot like Torrey Pines.
Congressional.
Bellerive, Congressional. Like, trust me, it's not, we're not picking on this because of the Muni aspect of it. That's a massive, it's kind of the only thing it has going for it.
I was going to say, if Torrey weren't as public as it is, it would be like just an ultimate disgrace.
Yeah.
Yes. That's
it stinks. I think people thought, from the beginning of the year, really since they announced Torrey, we've kind of been joking that, it's not a real U.S. Open, or just bemoaning that it's kind of going to suck. And, I guess it was a little bit, but there's a ton of truth in that. And it just stunk to I'm with you, DJ, in that I think the coverage, I would weigh it more than the venue for me today, but it just was not a great day at golf. And that's a shame because, these major tournaments, you get like 16 rounds a year that are truly like, let's lock in and watch golf all day. And it just, to waste one of them is a shame.
Can we take a quick break before we get into talking about breaks?
Sure.
Or maybe we can talk a little bit more golf. You tell me what's next as I tell you about.
I don't want to skip over our leader, right?
Okay, we'll get to our leader then.
Go ahead.
But at Cooper Tire, their purpose says that everyone deserves to travel through life's journeys with confidence. That means everyone. That's why they are a proud partner with the John Shippen National Invitational to help these exceptional young men and women approach their road ahead with confidence. John Shippen Jr. was the first American-born golf professional and also the country's first black golf professional. And this event will feature the top men's and women's amateur and professional black golfers June 27th and June 28th at the Detroit Golf Club in a 36-hole competition. The winner of the men's division will receive an exemption into the PGA Tour's Rocket Mortgage Classic, which is July 1st through July 4th. The women's division will feature a 36-hole competition with a 2-player team format. The winning duo will earn an exemption in the LPGA's Dow Great Lakes Bay Invitational, which is July 14th through the 17th, which is also played at a team event. Cooper Tire is a proud partner with the John Shippen National Invitational and is there for everyone at every turn. That's a great use of ad space right there. That's an exciting partnership. Yeah,
unbelievable event. It's basically like the Waterbury Open. From Happy Gilmore. Come out, come out and play. If you win, you're on tour, baby.
God, we have some chode in the chats. A Neil Schuster saying the ad load is fucking disgusting. Get out of here with
that.
The
podcast or for the golf today.
Well, all right, let's get to our leader. We have 2 leaders here, DJ, but which one are you?
You're right.
You want to talk Russell Henley?
I wanted to talk Russell Henley. Just Cody, you mentioned you went out and watched him a lot. I think he's just an absolutely fascinating guy. Fascinating for a couple of reasons today. One, hasn't played the Farmers since 2014, so I love kind of throwing that narrative out the window that there's all this like great local knowledge at Torrey Pines that people are relying on, which I think is basically just hit it straight and try to shake in some putts on the Poana. Last time he did play the Farmers, he shot 79 and then just didn't come back, which I think is great. Nah, dog. I just think it's interesting especially reading his quotes afterwards and stuff. And he's having like the best stretch of his career almost in like total anonymity, if that makes sense. And what's so interesting about a guy like him is that, we trip all over Matt Wolfe and Morikawa and Hovland. And of course those guys are, much more polished and probably more talented than he was when he came out. But when he did come out, he basically was that guy, right? He had won on the, whatever it was called, the web.com tour, I think at that point, as an amateur. I think he was low am at the US Open. He was an absolute fucking world beater. Came and won his first professional start at the Sony Open. And then has just kind of had this like really almost anonymous, but really interesting career. And I think all that's kind of been missing is like contending in majors. And so he's a guy that is, people might see him on the top of the leaderboard and just kind of like scroll past him or think he might not hang, which he very well might not. But he's a guy that like really fascinates me for some reason. I'm stoked to see him up there.
I completely agree with that.
Fascinates, really. That's a bold
I do.
word.
Well, listen, I mean, I just feel like we watch the same guys every week, and he's an outlier. It seems like he's got an interesting life off the golf course. I dig. I don't know if it's his wife, his fiance, girlfriend.
His wife is a very
big
legit
time
painter.
artist. Yeah, he's a phenomenal guitar player. Also, he's a very interesting guy. I'm way in on Russell Henley.
That's because when he first came out on tour, we were just hammered with all those inside the PGA Tour ads.
Exactly. That's
and
exactly
like,
right.
Russell plays the acoustic guitar. How cool is this? Sweet.
Yeah.
What throws me off now, real quick, is that I don't know who this Titleist Russell Henley guy is because I'm so used to seeing him like in a Nike script.
Right.
And you see him now, and you're like, oh, wow, what's going on here?
He looks very generic.
Oh yeah.
Who else would you put in this category of like PGA Tour annual regulars? Just put it in ink. You're going to be there every year on the PGA Tour. You're going to succeed. Yet you do nothing in majors. Like you're not even have not even been a factor. Like
I think a good comp would be like Kevin Na.
Yeah.
Right. Where just before this kind of late stretch of his career, which I think Russell like might totally be in for, is where he gets a little more comfortable being out there, a little more kind of like confident at the right times and has everything fall together. And like, there's no reason he couldn't kind of in this, he's not old by any stretch, but in the later years of his career, like there's no reason he couldn't go win like 4 or 5 times over the next 4 or 5 years. Like that's not crazy at all. But he also has just been, he's just around. He's a complete pro. Big
Total
Russell
pro.
Henley guy. I think I've sold that. I'm coming on too strong on Russell Henley now.
I think so. Yeah. No, I was just to answer your question. Another name I would throw out is a guy. And this might be like the top end of the spectrum. Would be a guy like Billy Horschel, who I feel like is Oh yeah, Billy Horschel. Everybody knows his name. He wins, a few times, and like, has he ever really competed at a major?
A lot of people throwing out
Yes.
Charles Howell. A lot of people throwing out Bill Haas, which I think are fair comparisons.
That's the exact kind of comp I would go with.
Yeah.
Is dudes that are just print money, do extremely well on the PGA Tour, but like you're just not used to seeing their names on leaderboards in majors.
You guys
Can we
are
talk
missing out.
now?
Charlie Hoffman leads the Masters first round every year.
That's true.
I was gonna
Charlie
say
I
this
think
is
a lot of those,
500.
Bubba accepting. I feel like a lot of those Georgia guys are fitting that mold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going with like Chris Kirk, Harris English, like that whole group, and I was like, wait, you're just naming all the Georgia guys. But
Yeah.
can we talk about Matthew Wolfe? That
Please.
was something I did not see coming. One, didn't know like before this week that he was going to be coming back and playing this week. And two, 8 birdies en route to a 70. Truly psycho scorecard today for him. I don't really know what to take away from all that. I think you got to be playing really good to make 8 birdies. That's maybe obvious, but also got to be really frustrating to get only 1 under out of that. But spoke a lot without really saying a whole lot about what he's been going through. I'm still quite confused as to why he's been away from the game. It doesn't sound like he's mentally checked in, and struggles on the golf course were weighing maybe on his mental health. It sounds quite complicated, to be honest, but he seems to be as open as possible about it. Yet at the same time, I'm still maybe that's just kind of part of the deal. Maybe he's very confused, and which leads to kind of confusing messaging on what's been going on with him. But I think we can all agree at minimum it's good to see him back on the golf course and back in contention at a U.S. Open.
Yeah,
I'll
definitely.
completely agree with that. A great post-round press conference today. I think that we got a chance to look at the transcripts. There's going to be lots of articles coming out about it tomorrow, but how open he was on the mental health subject, which
Did you get more out of that than I got out of it? What are you kind of reading between the lines?
Yeah, he just basically was like, I wasn't having fun anymore. Like, this became a job, and like I was very successful in college, and if I had a bad round, I think his quote in there was like, coach would buy me dinner and everything would be okay, and like I still had my buddies with me. And then you turn pro and you make, miss 5 cuts in a row, and all of a sudden you're like, man, this sucks. And he'd go home, and it started to weigh on him personally, then his relationship with his friends and his family and everybody else. And he was as open about it today as you can possibly be. I was shocked on Wednesday when I walked out onto the driving range and I saw Gankis there. I was like, what is George doing here? And then next thing I know, here comes Matt walking out. And I was like, I can't believe that he was here, because nobody had said anything about it. But he showed up big today.
First start in 2 months. Ryan Lavner had written a good piece. Ryan's probably written more about him, I would guess, than anybody throughout the college years and stuff. And it just made a lot of good points about how much of an extrovert he is, how much he gets energy from other people, and just spending that year on the PGA Tour when you're 22, should be in college. So
Should be in college.
when you're that young and you're that extroverted, and your life suddenly becomes like, go to the golf course, then go right back to the isolation in the hotel. Don't talk to anybody. Don't see anybody. Don't really do anything. Your whole life would become golf at that point, right? It's what else are you doing besides, kind of watching Netflix and reading or whatever. So it sounds, massively reading between the lines, but it sounds like some sort of exhaustion, anxiety, depression sort of cocktail going on. And it just, I'm sure that stuff just, in that kind of life, like, God, that sure seems like it would just spiral and snowball, and the more you try to fix it, the worse it gets. And it's awesome that he what I found really interesting about that presser was this idea that I didn't even know if I could take time off. Like, I don't even know how that works, where
Right.
like everybody talks about how all these guys are independent contractors, they can do whatever they want, they can set their own schedule, and like it never crossed his mind, or it probably didn't even seem okay to him that I guess I could just not play if I wanted to, and that even has to be a hard hurdle to get over. So it was good. One of my favorite quotes in there was he was talking about why he chose to come back at the U.S. Open, and he said, well, I figure if I shoot 78 today, there's gonna be a bunch of people that do it, so I won't stand out as much, which I thought was pretty funny.
This is a lot of people are going to roll their eyes at this, and we're going to remove, if you take money out of the equation, right? Money does not exist in this statement. Matt's got a lot of money already, probably set for life if he wanted to be. Blah blah blah.
I don't know why he's so fucking sad. What's the big deal?
Take that out of the question.
Just kidding.
And also not at a certain point, even early in a pro golfer's life and a competitive golfer's life, the value in playing amazing golf courses diminishes. It just does. Like, you don't appreciate, going and play when you can play Augusta. Like, you're not going to appreciate every single round you play at a great golf course. Take those things out. Being a pro golfer kind of sucks. Like,
right.
On the road so much, alone time so much, even like when the non-COVID times, like, you're just like that. There was a picture going around of Victor Hovland just carrying his bag solo up to the hotel at Kiowa. Like, that's what so much of pro golf looks like. It is everyone's thinking you're flying with your whole team in private jets all the time, and everyone's laughing and drinking champagne and doing all that. Like, not a lot of that stuff that goes into it is not that fun. The practice rounds, like, not that fun. Like, does it look really fun when you see them walking inside the ropes and people are cheering you on as you're playing? Sure. But like, that comes with like 98% of stuff that is not fun stuff to do. I know that probably sounds ridiculous to a lot of people, but like, I seeing more and more of it, I'm kind of like, God, yeah, like I would like to make that much money, but like, this whole lifestyle for a long, long period of time, you got to be a separate breed. You got to be a special breed. You got to be Mark Calcavecchia, who's played 1,000 of these things and loves it and can't wait to get back out there. That is not for everyone. Anthony Kim proved that, and like, Wolfe is kind of, I think, getting a taste of that. Like, this whole thing is not for everyone.
Well, especially think of the idea of what he had gone through the couple years before that, right? Where he is the kid, right? Every single person is just telling you how awesome it is. Oh my God, you're going to do so many big things. This is going to be unbelievable. Like, that had to be so fun. He's playing all these events for the first time. He's contending in majors. And then all of a sudden, like, you start to play poorly. You're completely isolated. Like, God, it would just be this, I would almost picture, like, it has to be this massive, just like sugar crash, right? Like, this just awful.
That's a great sugar crash. Yeah.
Awful, just like come down from what had to be like the most exciting couple years of his life. And so, I mean, all that is like, of course, we're psychoanalyzing someone we've barely spent any time with, but it's.
But mental health also doesn't like make sense to people that aren't going through it, right?
Of course.
Like, exactly. I've had people in my life that have gone through like depression and things like that, and it doesn't make sense to the outside. It only makes sense to the person going through it. So that's my dose of perspective for the day.
No, to your point,
before we round this out too, he made a very clear point too. He's like, there's millions and millions and millions of people who would love to be in the situation that I am, so do not feel sorry for me. This is just, I'm answering your question. This is how I feel.
Yep.
And this is how you're taking it.
What was wild about that presser was how much he had brought up the fans, where he just kept saying, like, God, I was so bummed that, like, I couldn't play in front of the fans. Like, I wanted to be out there for the fans, blah, blah, blah. And, like, that kind of external pressure has to even make it more like, imagine not wanting to be out there and just, basically only playing because you think other people want you to play is
right.
That's a tough spot to be as well.
So
it's really interesting too, just to add on here. How many guys probably suffer silently this same exact feeling, right? And
look at Chris Kirk, like that podcast. So you're just talking about anxiety he had and how the only way he could deal with the anxiety was to drink, and like that's what led him to being an alcoholic. And he wasn't telling a lot of people or anyone about that. No one knew that was going on. Like, there's a reason why a lot of golfers on the Champions Tour end up sober, because they've been driven to drink because of, probably dealing with some mental health stuff that wasn't probably very well diagnosed, or even being aware that other people were probably going through that. So many people in the comments saying credit to Bubba and credit to Wolfe for speaking out on this. And I completely agree. I think they've probably had multiple people come up to them and say, like, hey, I've kind of gone through this too. Like, and probably given advice. So I don't know. Yeah,
that's all I was going to say, is just kudos to him for, hopefully it feels like such a weight off, just being able to talk about it and really express his true feelings. So, it's great.
Which glad is kind of the norm in all professional sports right now too. This is not just one-off for the PGA Tour.
Yeah,
I mean, if you look at what's going on at tennis, it's crazy. And I will say, we joke a lot about Bubba, but really, he is kind of the guy that the sturdy, the veteran that's there to pick these guys up and help them, and kudos for that. And I think, you guys know my background, and when we talk about mental health and everything else like that, and it's something that I deal with completely different. It's not because I'm playing golf, but from past military experiences. And unless you have buddies around to pick you up and you're able to talk to you about it, you're not going to do it just because of the stigma that's attached to it. So I hope he's back. I hope he has an awesome round tomorrow, finishes the tournament out strong, because, man, it was really, really fun to watch today. It was a roller coaster. Hopefully he steadies it a little bit, but I'm excited to have Matt Wolfe back.
He should still be in college. Want to give a shout out to the Bullet. What do you finish?
Fucking Bullet, even, I think.
believe. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely loving life.
First time in California, first U.S. Open, fresh off a win on the European Tour, shot even par round today. That was a good round of golf. A lot of people, a lot of good names at even par or better, which sneaky. Dustin Johnson shot even, which kind of felt like that was a very, very quiet even par round for him.
Did we kind of skip past Brooks a little quickly?
I have one bullet.
Go ahead.
Bullet came off the 17th green, walked to the 18th tee box. I was so excited because I was trying to get caught up to him. He rounds the corner, and I was like, Bullet, let's go, like right in his face. And he looked at me like, what are you doing? Like,
Do I know you?
Glazed over. Had no clue. And he just turned to his caddy and he's like, what the fuck? Oh, man. He just kept him moving.
Fucking Americans, man.
Yeah, he's like, has no clue. He's like, people here should know who I am. But quite a few Bullet supporters out there. It was great to see.
God, that's good stuff. The Bullet's going to be an absolute folk hero. Once the people find out his story. I know we're doing our part, but the more people need to know.
Is it time for Amsterdam before we get too deep in the lead? I think on a day as special as this one, it might be time for Amsterdam.
I just have one question before we get there. Who is going to be the low Molinari this weekend?
God, that's a good question, Cody. You just gave me a lot of energy.
I'm going to go with Francesco. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Francesco.
Eduardo's been vibing, man. Haven't you watched him on the Canary Islands, everything?
Yeah, I'll go with Eduardo. Sure, that sounds great.
Count me on Eduardo.
I mean, Eduardo's, he's a complete USGA championship monster. He's a USAM winner. He totally gets how these things go. Francesco won 0 USAMs. No 4-balls, no juniors, none of that stuff.
You guys are bad guys.
Only thing I want to say on Brooks, was I thought he had some interesting quotes as well. One, of course, reiterating and pointing out that he watched none of the U.S. Open at Wingfoot. I thought was a great, just a good.
Who won that, by the way?
Just a good twist of the knife. Like, no, I didn't. I was rehabbing. I didn't watch any of it, which is not even different than what I usually do. I usually don't ever watch any golf, anyways. So that was interesting. Two, just something that stuck out for me. Like, I think it ends up sounding like a cliche because it sounds so simple and kind of boring. But I think what he might be the best U.S. Open player because he is so incredibly patient and so incredibly I don't know if it's process driven or whatever, but he had a quote, like, it's so basic, but he just said it, quote, "It's pretty simple, a lot simpler than a lot of guys make it." And it was just this idea of, like, when you watch him play, it's never flashy. It's never like going at every flag stick. It's just, he's literally just like not making mistakes and outlasting everybody. Like, he doesn't try to do too much. He's the definition of, like, completely keeping it in front of him. And that kind of clicked for me today with, like, of course, when things started to get a little rocky, like, he made a bunch of really good par savers, but it's always feels boring to watch him because he's never doing anything crazy flashy, right? Like, he's perfect for these because he hits it to 20 feet a bunch and 2 putts a bunch, and, like,
you never see
he's
him
going to be right there.
You never see him make, like, oh, that was dumb. Like, why did you do that? He never makes, like, a horrible mental mistake. Like, he will make a lot of physical mistakes. He will hit some errant tee shots, but almost always with his iron approaches, it makes a lot of sense where he leaves it. Whereas I think I don't personally root, like, for the human Brooks, but I like when he's involved. I find myself wanting him to make putts when he's standing over a putt. I think golf's more interesting when he's in it. And I don't get the same feelings that I get when I'm watching Rory, which so many times with Rory, it's like, how the fuck did you hit it there? Like, what are you doing hitting that wedge there? And I never get that feeling with Brooks. He feels in control, exactly what you said. And that's interesting because he doesn't come off as a super cerebral golfer. Like, he doesn't seem like he thinks his way around a course. But I think there's a lot more going on with that in terms of a game plan and just keeping things simple, though.
He seems like he's doing the center of the greens challenge out there, basically.
That's not off.
But there was that quote. I forget who. I guess it must have been the TV interview when they asked him, like, when did this U.S. Open stuff really click for you? He's like, yeah, probably like the first one, when it became like pretty obvious, like, just don't try to do too much. And I don't know, for whatever reason, that really like hit me today, where it's like, man, no, I think he's telling us everything we want to know. Like, it's going to be really boring because it's just not going to be a lot of mistakes.
Do you think
But something's off with hitting 73, Justin Ray stat, 73% of your greens in U.S. Opens, and all the other events combined 67%? Like, that is messed up. That's messed up. You're doing something weird here. Like, something's not right.
I think it's a different style of golf,
focus. Though. Yeah, it might just be, a different level of focus and being locked in.
Like, I think if he did play like this at normal tour events, like, he'd get boat raced, right? Like, it's a totally different thing where it's we joke about this a lot, but I mean, it is kind of a different game where it's the PGA Tour, a lot of weeks, not all weeks. Of course, there's a lot of, very proper golf courses, but it does become kind of like, it's pillow soft. You better hit it really fucking close to the hole, man. You better make 30 birdies this week. Otherwise you have no chance. And that's just like it's not his game.
Yeah.
Or it's not where he shines the best, I should say.
It talks a lot about their process too, as Brooks is kind of, as you said, his first major. Yes, I realized it. I think if you see like Brooks and DJ, like obviously extremely high golf IQs, and DJ always got kind of was told that he's the guy that's kind of the dummy, which I don't think was the case at all because he's so freaking smart on the golf course. But they're kind of like morphing into the same person. And I'm always curious on how much Claude had to do with that, because their processes and how they handle themselves on the course is almost exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm surprised Claude is able to work with. Wasn't he didn't he sign up as Bubba's life coach? That's all that flashes in my head when I hear about Claude. But I'm surprised he works with other clients.
All right, I'm officially kicking it off. We're on Amsterdam. We're only talking coverage right now. We can come back to some golf, but I want a round table. I want you guys on the record first. Randy, what did you think of the coverage today?
So I spent the first part of the day watching Feature Group. It was great.
Feature Group's very good.
Yeah. As expected, really nice. And then the afternoon, the second wave, I flipped over to the main coverage. And, I don't pile on in Amsterdam usually. To me, it seemed like a lot of commercials and just didn't have the U.S. Open presence to it. Like the easiest comparison I can make is the U.S. Women's Open was virtually commercial free. Shout out Rolex. And today felt like they were going to commercial every, 6-7 minutes.
How many commercials from 2:17 p.m. until the end of the coverage? How many times do you think they went to commercial? Just a guess.
755.
I'll take give me 463.
God damn it. Come on, guys. Cody, how many times did they go to commercial in the last 8 hours?
Did you count them up?
I watched all of 5 minutes of coverage.
But what would your estimate be? What sounds like a lot in that time frame?
350.
You guys are bad people.
70 commercials.
How many?
They went to 52 commercial breaks from the point where where it got so bad that I was like, God, I think I kind of need something to do this afternoon. I'm going to count it. Like, that's where I started. And then they went to commercial 52 times after that happened. So this is, again, I want to set the scene for what has happened in previous years. Fox took over this contract, spent a ton of money, and won the U.S. Open, the USGA contract. They presented the U.S. Women's Open commercial free. They did all the U.S. Junior, the USAM, all that stuff, almost commercial free, if I remember right. I know the finales were commercial free. U.S. Open always had commercials, but it was much, much, much lighter. A lot of uninterrupted coverage parts were presented by Rolex, blah, blah, blah. Fox signed a bad deal. Let's just get out in front of this, right? It was a loss leader for them. For them, it was like live sports rights were what you needed to be doing if you want to be a sports network. So they wanted golf. They were fine losing money on it. Then they decide, when the pandemic hits, they decide they can get out of this contract and pay what I believe to be 70 cents on the dollar. NBC basically got it for them for 30 cents on the dollar, from what I believe, somewhere around that number, right? They took it over. They saw it as a chance to get out. They're paying a bunch of money to not broadcast the tournament. Bad deal for Fox. But for NBC, what I understood it to be, at least for last year, was they took over the Fox contract. So when we watch Wingfoot, same amount of commercial windows that we saw last year in 2020 that we would have seen on Fox, right? And I don't remember seeing any influx, and I have this actually confirmed, that the commercial load has increased substantially, and by my estimation, probably doubled, right? So not only is NBC paying 30 cents on the dollar for this coverage, they are hitting us with as many commercials as we get during the PGA Tour, which is the most ridiculous broadcasting deal in all of sports, as far as my knowledge, in terms of commercial per what you get out of it, right? So now your event, the USGA's prime event, the US Open, the biggest event, the national championship event, is on par with the worst part of televised golf in the world. Like, there's nothing worse in the world for televised golf than a PGA Tour event. And that's what we're getting for the national championship. You can combine that with Torrey, and like that, this is what you've chosen to present to people as your flagship event. How are we not supposed to be upset?
But what you don't understand, Solly, and it's okay.
This is a brand new contract. Don't give me contracts.
No, but what you don't understand is, like, that's how these players are able to play for so much money.
Congratulations.
You know, is because of the sponsors. You know, that's the thing, is the sponsors, they help foot the bill to make sure these guys can have these great lives, which is always my favorite thing, because I'm like, yo, I don't give a shit how much you guys play for. Like, you guys don't have great lives unless we watch. And that was so fucking unwatchable today that, like, Randy, to your point, like, there's no way I can do anything other than watch the feature groups tomorrow. That was truly miserable.
It's a disgrace.
Yeah, it was bad.
Randy, do you have anything to add on that?
I like the bullet. I'm just loving life right now. What do I have to add? You know what ticks me off in the afternoon? When they put really good groups on feature group cover, and then spend the whole main telecast just showing the feature group. And then, like, we'll cut away if somebody makes a 20-foot putt. It's like, oh, this, so-and-so. It's like, oh, God, I bet this is going in. It just annoys me. So, I don't know. As long as they put Mickelson in feature group tomorrow afternoon, that's where I'll be watching.
But like, that's like, that's a very personal thing, and of course I can tune in and watch the feature groups, and so many people chime in to say, like, oh, well, just DVR and fast forward through everything. It's like, yo, that's not how like 98% of people take in live sports. It's not supposed to be like this. There's nothing I do in my life that I sacrifice a third of the time just for ads. Like, there's there's no content in the world that's worth that. If this podcast was 18 minutes of commercials out of 60, you would not listen to it. You wouldn't. I would not expect you to. Like, that, we're getting robbed right in front of our faces, and it's so unbelievably frustrating. And like, I've never seen the sentiment so angry. Of all the coverage stuff we've done over so many years, I've never seen people as angry as they were today. That was the worst day of coverage. Maybe because it was a punch in the face, because we weren't expecting so many commercials. Like, I'm budgeted when CBS is taking over, I know there's going to be a lot, but I didn't know this was coming, and that was a punch in the face.
As Neil would say, Houdini punch to this.
Yes, just a boom. As hard as I hit that hill with that 4-iron, that's how hard I got punched in the face today. And it's not. We haven't even gotten to like how bad they were at storytelling what was going on. Like,
but that's where I would give a pass. Is like, dude, you can't do anything when you have that many commercials. You can't.
No.
It is constant. Just like there's nothing you can do. Like, you're chasing your tail all day, which is where I don't know. You almost like can't fault the crew for this, because you can tell they're so good at doing what they're doing, because you see it at we've pointed out, but a week like the Players Championship, when they have room to run and they have like no commercials, like, they're really fucking good at it. It's not the crew, and it's not really it's not the NBC, it's the NBC executives plus the USGA executives.
Yes.
Right.
That's where sweet done. It's all bean counters that have totally fucked this up. And whoever B who just said
counters out of it. Okay.
whoever B is on the YouTube comments that just said Solly is just mad because his TV is tiny. Congratulations. You just won a Precision Pro rangefinder.
Nice.
So DM me and I will send you a Precision Pro rangefinder because that is very funny.
That's a really good comment.
My TV, it's bigger than it looks, I swear. It's the camera angle.
It's got the Michael Scott plasma up on the wall.
I wanted to just on the subject. One of Anthony DeFelice on Twitter. One of my favorite tweets I saw today. You can't win the fans over on Thursday, but you can certainly lose them. I thought that was
That's
excellent.
really good.
Yeah,
Like, God, Matt. Oh, God. And they're going to do the British Open, too. It's going to be the same thing. And
But that's different, though, right? I mean, it's not just an NBC thing, right? Like, there's two sides. Two people have to sign this deal. Right. So the USGA is not like the USGA just gives them like a blank plan for the week and says like, why don't you guys just put in as many commercials as you feel is right? Like they have to both sign off on it, and it's so let's not. You just highlighting a bunch of comments. What the hell?
Sorry, I don't know how to do this. I'm trying to reply to him. He's trying to figure out how to DM me. We'll figure it out. B. Great YouTube name.
Email nolayingup@gmail.com.
There you go.
But let's not put it on the RNA yet. We haven't seen it yet. Let's not prejudge the RNA. We can judge the shit out of the USGA because it's pretty clear where their priorities have lied.
But if you're the USGA, aren't you mad? Like, aren't you upset about the way that was presented today? Like, you just like people.
Didn't you sign the deal? Like it's the same as the PGA Tour, right? Like the PGA Tour signs the deal to have that many commercials every week. They're not allowed to then be like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we don't know why there's so many commercials either. It's nuts. Like the USGA had to be okay with this. It's awful. It's so bad. Everybody is to blame. It's really not good.
the purses are going up though,
which is awesome.
Cool.
That's
cool,
fucking
though.
sick. God, that's cool.
Yeah.
And next week will be.
I did.
Yeah,
you know what?
can
I
follow
got
our
another
complaints in
complaint. Solid.
augmented
Go
reality.
hit it, me, Randy.
I
I'm not
got
done.
another complaint. I saw multiple commercials for the Torrey Pines U.S. Open that I'm watching.
Oh my God!
What?
Just
What do
wait
you want
till
me
our
to do?
Wild
You
World of
sold
Golf.
me. You
We do
sold-
a
I'm
playing
watching.
through, and also fuck playing through. Like it is that does not count as coverage. Like that's
the
worse
worst.
than coverage. Because if you're streaming it, you don't see it.
Exactly.
And then they come back and like, oh, you saw Phil's shot. No, I don't. You are not keeping my eyes on the screen with a commercial playing next to it. If you did the math on whatever percentage of the screen, it has to be taking up 12% of the screen where they have this golf coverage, right? And then golf coverage is not good enough to have no sound and cover 12% of the screen and keep my attention. Trust me.
Yeah, I'm shocked we didn't see any players commercials this week. It seemed like that would have been just a perfect little those fire starter logs, just to piss everybody off.
And
But,
how about sending people to Peacock for the last hour?
well,
Like,
don't
after-
come at my hitters at
Don't
Peacock.
come at the
Peacock's
cock.
been sweet.
Yeah, getting cocked today was one of the highlights.
And also, honestly, like that serene, like, did I just have a stroke?
Yeah, we'll
Type
be
of
right
feeling
back.
where-
I loved it.
Well, that was cool too. But I meant the like when you switched over and there's no announcers and it's all kind
that
of
was
like jumbled
Oh.
ambient noise. You're like, yeah, I might just be toast. This might be. I think I might have finally short circuited, but no, it was technical difficulties. But more of that. Peacock, if you're listening, I thought that was sick.
And when they would go to breaks,
That was sweet,
they would
too.
play this really ambient Zen music. I was like, keep it in break. I'm vibing right now.
Speaking of vibing, you know who's not vibing today? That I honestly, you could have told me he withdrew and nobody would have noticed. Jordan Spieth shot 77 today,
He
Tough.
stinks.
which I'll admit, it was very nice to have gone into a tournament with just like a total write off of Spieth. I didn't
Yeah.
even bother with any hype train with this one. I was just like, nah, this is not his week, not his course.
I don't want to, drive down the street. This is gonna be a complete drive-by shooting of a lot of guys, but a lot of horses just absolutely sucked today.
Yeah.
Bryson 2 over, JT 2 over, Hovland 3 over, Finau 3
What?
over.
Hold on. Do you think 2 overs out of it?
No. I don't think it's out of it, but it's not good. I mean,
It's
like
like T61.
right. I mean, these are
That's back. That's not T30 plus 2.
These are guys that all kind of like fit the models too, right? Where
Okay.
we kept saying in the preview is like, there's probably 30 guys that can win this tournament, it seems like. I mean, I think all these guys are on that list. Where Bryson 2 over, JT 2 over, Hovland 3 over, Finau 3 over, Morikawa 4 over. That's a really frustrating one. Jordan 5 over, and Team Rose 7 over. I'm still going to put him on the list. He's been playing well. Oh, sorry, I didn't catch up on his last hole.
Phil was 4 over. I was pissed.
Zalatoris was.
I think Phil might be. We might be in a complete house money situation.
I think Phil is truly
I thought
punting.
He might be freed up.
He's punting to like let you appreciate what happened at the
Exactly.
PGA. Like you need to you don't understand what happened there, right? I'm going to punt this tournament just so you remember how ridiculous it was that I won the PGA.
And I'm not saying 2 over is out of it by any means. By the way, I see a lot of the comments. People say, it's like, listen, you didn't do yourself any favors today if you shot 2 over.
2 over is not a good round today. You're not out of it, but you got to leapfrog 60 dudes if you want to win this thing. That's. I
mean, you guys talking how far back's too far back? Is that what you're talking?
I'm ready to play. Let's play.
Let's fucking play, Randy.
I'm putting
No
it
one.
I'm putting it low. I'm putting it at 5 +5. Too far out. Everything better than +5. I'm willing to see more.
That's wild.
I'll say no one +3 or worse is winning this tournament. So
I
+3
agree.
is too far back.
That's what I was going to say too. Cody,
Yeah, I'd go with +3. I think 5 is a bit much. 3 is going to be where it's at.
you were trying to figure out that word, Randy, when they put the horses out of their misery.
Yeah.
Euthanize?
Well,
Yeah, I think
what's
there's
another
a
name for
specific word for it. Someone in the comments, if you know the word, hit us.
I don't think it's destroy. They bring out the big the curtains. They put them up around the horse, and that's it for them. A lot
That
of that
seems like
going on today.
how your boy Baffert probably cut his teeth.
He's a bad guy. You guys
sure
got to
he-
go over to the trap draw to listen.
I'm sure he got a big kick out of those days.
So you've just annihilated Victor Hovland.
He was 3 over. No, he's still in. He was 3 over.
I said 3 over is too
3
far
over
back.
or worse.
I think 3 over is too far back.
Oh, all right. Well, then I guess I did too.
Except for Tony, maybe he has a chance.
I mean, Morikawa.
Tony's actually in a great
68
spot
tomorrow.
to finish T6, top 4 Americans.
Can I do a couple more sneaky good rounds? Patrick Cantley, 1 under. Just want to take note of that one. Just that one's worth putting a little jot on your paper. Also, I lost it. Adam Scott -1.
Yeah.
Huge Torrey
Nice.
record, like a very, very sneaky Torrey record. And that I didn't not notice that. And Berger at even too. I don't think I saw him hit a shot today. Although NBC, of course, did that. We show one shot from all 156
Don't
people that
forget about-
no
oh, yeah,
one's
that's
asking for. No one's asking for that.
If I'm being honest, positivity, I got a little kick out of them moving around to so many different guys today. There was a lot more than I can remember. Maybe this is just me checking out a little bit more, but there was a lot more than I can remember of like, who is that guy? That's fun. A lot of Googling guys. It was great.
That works when you're not taking over 6 breaks an hour.
Yeah.
Who's that guy?
No, you're right. When you only have I was gonna try to get a blast off today about their 12 hours of coverage, which means about 91 minutes of golf shown to the hardcore fans. But when you're got that small of a hole, I'm with you. That might be a little clever.
It's been insinuated the coverage is going to be better this weekend, and
Awesome.
I'm
Can't wait to see it.
very much in a believe it when I see it situation here. Because
Well,
If that's the case, if I may, I'm sorry, DJ, if I may, all right, really quickly, if I may, zero credit, and what do you want? Like a thank you for your service for putting on a good golf telecast? Get out of here with that.
Yeah.
oh god, yeah. So they always get this front loading thing, like, oh yeah, we're front loading into this part, but that just means even at best you regress to like what's normal on the back half. You don't front load and then do light on the back end, right? You just do front load a ton of commercials and then you regress into like an average amount of commercials. You're never any benefit to the front loading.
Good comment there from someone asking if they're moving courses this weekend. That's why the telecast is going to be a lot better. I would say, honestly, what the vibe that this telecast gave me today was if I was a very, very casual fan. So to your point, like I'm sure that it actually will be better on the weekend. But if I tuned in and I watched that for an hour today, I literally would say, I don't care. I'll see it for the back nine on Sunday.
Yes.
Like I'm not going to follow this tournament for until then because it's going to be pretty miserable.
And we might get an exciting finish of a close score at the end. Like we very well might. And like there's going to be a lot of people that just tune in for the back nine and just won't understand why it was a painful path to get here. But
I know people on the podcast can't see this, but this comment kind of got me. Solly with the World War II era microphone.
The boys have come over the Rhine and they're making their way towards Berlin.
That was really good. David S. That really got me. Anyways, you were saying
very fun. I do not know what I was saying.
I got a couple shout outs before we get out of here. Hayden Buckley, 69 today.
That was awesome.
Nice.
Gun to my head for $1 million. Couldn't have named a thing about him.
Corn Ferry Tour player.
Yeah, I just learned that.
I didn't know that. I just Googled it. Actually, I was on a Wikipedia page. I saw Hayden Buckley was a quarterback. I was like, oh, two-sport athlete. But it was a quarterback from like the 50s. So it was a different guy. Yeah.
And then Andrew Kosnin. Let me make sure I get his name right. Kozin, low am so far, even round. Love when an amateur sneaks up there. And then finally, my guy Guido. I love what Guido's doing. Guido Migliozzi shot an even par. One of my favorite names in the game.
Did you guys know Francesco Molinari is 3 under?
Yeah, we chatted about that, I believe.
I didn't know who a low Molinari.
No, I know. I didn't realize Francesco had played that well. That's outrageous.
Nobody told me.
Rafa, obligatory Rafa shot 3 under mentioned at least. So
talk about
we didn't even talk about the rib. The rib starting round 2, not like 10 strokes back.
I know.
We need to talk about the rib before we get out of here. Solly, what'd you see from the rib today?
I saw him not play himself out of a major championship in round 1, which is progress.
He tried.
Which is progress. Did he?
I thought he looked like he was trying on the back nine a little bit.
I don't think there's enough places for Rory to really get himself in trouble at Torrey. You know, like I think his style should match up really well with this course. There's not the doubles and triples waiting for him there. I don't know. It makes sense that the rib would stick around for a little bit. We got through round 1. We haven't got through round 1 in honestly a long time.
Oh no, I'm very, very bullish. I thought it was great. Like it was great. I'm saying it looked like it was getting a little wobbly on that back nine. He was kind of trying to do his normal Thursday thing, but he hung in there.
He
made
par
putt there on 17.
We are getting reports that after the round, he finished in the dark there, and after the round, he said, "I putt better in the dark." As he finished there, listen, that's probably not a great sign, but like where Rory's
he's got to be feeling himself after banning greens reading books this week, reportedly as the PAC chairman.
That was a big step. So he was actually positive strokes gained putting.
I think he's quickly approaching the kid. Spieth didn't look like the kid today, so the mantle may have been passed.
A quick check on putting stats. Taylor Montgomery led in 4.5 strokes gained putting. Patrick Rogers, 4 strokes gained putting. Same with Scotty Scheffler. Russell Henley almost with 4. Francesco Molinari almost with 4. Koepka gained 3 shots on the greens today. So usually his sustainability models are off the charts, but he might be a part of the erosion committee unless he maintains gaining that much on the greens. And then on the other end of the spectrum, Colin Morikawa cost himself almost 3 shots on the greens today. So,
in that vein, watch out for my guy Matty Fitz. Shot a 70 today, and I think was like 108th putting. Good U.S. I've always thought good U.S. Open game.
Best strokes gain approach was Abe Answer, Grayson Sigg, Shane Lowry, and Matthew Fitzpatrick, along with Russell Henley. So,
watching Abe Answer live still blows my mind. He's so good, but he's so small. It's crazy how good he eats his irons.
Rogan vibes.
Oh yeah.
It's just a little guy.
I need you to come in a little stronger with the Skip Bayless. Abe Answer's too short to win the U.S. Open.
No, not saying that. And I also think it's really cool when you have people from other nationalities who speak other languages, and they have like small pockets of fans everywhere you go. and they can zone in and focus and respond directly to them. You get a lot of that with Abe. Really,
That's
really cool. You get a lot of that with Rom too, and it's nice to see out there.
Adam
We didn't really
Hadwin.
talk too much
I
about
gotta think
Rom
Adam
either.
Hadwin's like that as well.
Of course.
I'm not going to touch that.
Guys, I'm getting loopy.
The Duck Club's going to be angry at me, but hey, shot of the day real quick. Bubba's driver off the deck.
Oh, that was sick. That was
Incredible.
Awesome. Bubba, I wish he just didn't suck so much. He's so fun to watch. Like his playing style was so different. Like where he had his feet aimed on that driver off the deck, it was so absurd. He looked like who was the old Reds hitter, Randy, that like had 1 foot out the? Was it Paul O'Neill that used to have like a foot outside the batter's box when he would?
I think it was.
Or
No,
Sean
I don't
Casey
remember
did
that.
it too. He was way
Yeah, he did.
outside and then
Casey.
stepped into it.
I
That's
mean, if
what
anybody
Bubba-
remembers like Tony Fernandez, that's the
Yeah.
guy like totally open and almost facing the pitcher.
That's what he looked like hitting that ball. So
You know, he's never hit a straight ball in his life. I
never had a
love
lesson
when,
either.
Yeah, love when the announcers go to that.
What do you think?
I'm
I feel
taken
like
out.
we're running out of gas.
Yep,
Yeah.
this is it. This is it for me. Bryson,
Lit-
we didn't talk a lot of Bryson.
That's fine.
I just wanted to
Well,
talk about
he
that shot he hit on
photobombed.
13.
Did you see him photobomb Brooks's interview again?
That was fun. He's wacky.
Super cool. He's so zany.
I'm in on that. That was funny.
Bryson seems to play a lot of rounds where it's like, yeah, it's kind of like the highest you could have shot, man. Like you got nothing out of that.
What did you call him today?
Hey, he's like snot boogie.
Snot boogie. What?
From the Wire, from the first episode of The Wire.
So
He keeps,
he just like keeps getting punched down, but like keeps coming back to like jumping behind Brooks.
he keeps robbing the game.
Yeah, he keeps like
And then
robbing
just
the game.
keep kicking his ass.
But he like keeps doing it. Like he knows the punishment's coming, but keeps doing it. Doesn't care. Like
It's
the
America.
punishment has not changed his actions. Like, yeah, it's America. We had to let him play. He's like snot boogie. Don't act like you weren't thinking the exact same thing, Randy.
I got to
God.
rewatch The Wire. That reference is a little over my head.
That's really good. Really, really good. Only thing I had on Bryson was that the shot he hit on the par 5 was at 13. When he's in this
awesome.
sand-filled divot, and he tried to hit like this uphill, like nippy, like spinner to that tuck flag. Even everybody on the broadcast was like, "Yeah, no, all he can do is just like just run one right up that runway to
Just
30,
played it.
30 feet, make your par." And yeah, I went right at it. Just no chance that was going anywhere except for in those bunkers short. That was very bad. That's exactly the kind of shit Brooks is not doing.
Yes.
That's
But it
not
was
on
awesome.
Bryson,
Like,
though. That's on Tim. All right.
Yeah, it's on. Is that they strike you as a win as a team, lose as a team? Because
but how is Bryson not getting to 13 after all that shit? You can't reach a 600-yard par 5. Like,
he was close.
yeah, but you can't be short. Like, you can't. If you're gonna do all that shit, you can't be short, right?
know.
Like he was going for it and didn't get there. Like that. Of all the stuff you've been doing, that can't happen. Like that's where, like, we're gonna question your strategy.
It looks like some of those other teens have some speed. Maybe they're the guys to watch out for. All the teens that he's hanging with in his simulator.
Did anyone reach 13 today?
Who could say?
Of course.
How you setting us up for that question? We don't
you
even
know.
fucking know.
I don't know if you remember. Cody was there. Maybe he saw somebody reach it. I don't know.
I also
Here.
didn't realize how far, like, uphill 13 green is elevated. It's crazy up there.
Oh
You
yeah,
gotta
plenty of
fly
people
it
reached
all the
13
way.
today. Matthew Wolfe reached 13 today. There's a bunch of balls. Xander got over 13 today, and Bryson couldn't get there. Hate that.
Dude, Bryson or Xander was hitting like 370 consistently. It was amazing.
It's running firm out there in the fairways.
Oh
Shout
my
out to the
God.
Epic Speed.
All right, boys.
let's go to bed.
Let's stop. All right, boys, that was fun. We'll see you. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for everyone in the live chat. That was especially fun.
Yeah.
Cheers. Good night.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Cheers.